manifest. You get? We have something specific. We have been given a mandate. We have been given an assignment. And our existence is not just for the purpose of passing time. You get? Our existence is for the purpose of the accomplishment of our purposes on the face of the earth. I believe there are moments when you feel like life is slipping out of your hands, where you feel like you are not controlling even a little bit of your future, like you are not controlling even a little bit of your 2 months, 3 months to come. I believe that there are moments that we feel like life is a mystery, a complicated thing altogether. You get? However, that comes from the emotional part of us. And the emotional part of us is the part of ourselves that depends on what we see, on what we feel, on what we touch, and on what we taste. You understand? So, simply because you don't have something, or simply because you have not yet accomplished a particular goal that you have for yourself, or a goal that has been set for you based on the divine plan that you know that has been assigned to you. The most important thing to understand is that He is in control. You get? Perhaps some of you are living in fear of what may happen. Perhaps some of you are living in fear of what if what I'm planning does not happen? What if what I'm trying to build does not manifest? What if, and what if? Understand? But let me tell you something. As I live onto the face of the earth, and I've been able to make some analysis, like personal analysis, personal observation on how the systems of the world operate, I can tell you that there is nowhere on the face of the earth that the principle of faith does not operate. Do you understand? Look at the people who have begun the things that they have begun. Look at the people who have begun the businesses that they began. Look at the people that began building the things that they have built. You understand? You know, at times I bypass people who are selling things. You understand? And as I bypass people who are selling things, I know that this is faith in operation. You know? Do you know what it means? To get up one day and you just say, I'm going to open up a shop, a bag shop, or you're saying, I'm going to open up a boutique, or you're saying, I'm going to open up this particular thing, or a shop for electronics. Understand? These individuals, as they stand up to take that step, They don't know where the buyers are going to come from. But deep inside they believe that when they set that, you understand? When they start up that businesses, eventually buyers will come. You understand? Now, as you observe this illustration that I'm giving you, I want you to understand that even in the desire of man to perform, there is the providing grace that supersedes man's action. That even though a man can wake up and begins a business without knowing where customers will come from, without him forcing it to anyone, he still gets to find that there are people who are drawn to his product or to his service. The force behind what draws people towards this particular individual is not human energy, is divine energy. You understand? It's an energy that supersedes human effort. You understand? That at times this individual will not even need to convince so much so that people may buy, but people still come. Just imagine you having a business and all of a sudden a person you don't know from a place that you don't know comes to you and asks you how much is the price. Think about it. Yes, you began a business, but you did not initiate the idea of him coming to your shop. What initiated this man's idea to approach your shop is way bigger than your human capacity and ability and energy could fathom. Do you understand? Than your human ability and logistics could comprehend. What am I trying to show you? I'm trying to show you that even in human's greatest smartness, you understand? There is a portion of operation on the face of the earth that is not limited to human effort. You understand? That's why a man who is living only by his effort cannot accomplish much. There has to come a moment that however much you plan, that however much you decide, however much you have the free will to make choices in this life, however much you think you are smart, however much you think you're wise, you surrender to the supreme authority and to the sovereignty of your Maker, who is God. Because still in the puzzle of life, there are pieces that you did not design, but they fit your current experience. This is why, regardless of how much we are educated, regardless of how much we seem to sound wise or logical or smart in human sense, all these things, as I mentioned them, they can be a heavy weight on a man's heart because of the laws that cannot be controlled and manipulated by human effort. There are laws that govern existence that the greatest wisdom of man cannot comprehend. That the best plans of a man can easily turn into a trap. You understand? That's why it is written That in all things get knowledge, and in all your gettings get understanding. You understand? Because, yes, I know we have the brain and we have the mind, but none of us even knows how these things operate. You understand? You don't know how these things store information. Like, just the makeup of your being is complicated to yourself. Now, before you try to control the world around you, understand? Begin with yourself. Look at you. Yeah? Just your brain, just your heart. There are things about your brain that you cannot fathom. You cannot completely explain how you grasp information and store it for years without losing it. You understand? But all these things, unique experiences, even about your personality, were carefully crafted by your maker. You understand? Because there is a beauty of existence that before you reach out to access the beauty in the external world around you, your personality itself has got a particular kind of beauty embedded in itself. You understand? That you cannot easily decode. And a mere fact of understanding that there is a beauty that is attached to your makeup as an individual, that there are things about your makeup that you cannot easily answer but only live into naturally. That is how we apply these principles to the external world. There are times you might not be knowing where that tuition is going to come from. That at a particular moment you may not be knowing where that money that you need to begin up that thing is going to come from. But you submit oneself to the sovereignty of God. You understand? You submit yourself to the sovereignty of God. This is a place whereby you get to believe. And not only to believe, but also to surrender. You understand? To surrender your life, to surrender your experiences. Because let me tell you something. There's a reason as to why he told unto us that we have to cast the burdens unto him. Why? Because if you want to carry these burdens, they're going to be heavy for you. You understand? You're going to be stressed. You're going to be worried every single day. You will not even smile. At times you will sit down and you try to weigh the things that certain individuals have done to you, things that were to hurt you, things that were to stop you, things that were to hinder you. And guess what? If you don't know how to cast your burdens unto him, you will live a very frustrated life. You understand? I know there are lots of things that we hear about taking charge of our lives and everything. It's good. It's good to be responsible. You understand? But do you know what? As humans, there is a particular moment whereby we become responsible than our responsibility to handle. You understand? Like, our existence is divine partnership. You understand? We are participants in the divine experience. That means we have a part to play, and our Maker has a part to play. He has not handed life unto us so that we may figure out every path for ourselves. You understand? You understand? I know when we were growing up, we were in school, and school taught us a lot of things. You understand? I believe we were taught a lot of things in school. Grow up, get a job, begin working. You understand? And guess what? Do you know what? As beautiful as that is, and as beautiful as that sounds, you understand? It can only be someone's plan And someone can be locked in that small box of expectation. You understand? To one extent that he forgets that there are things that are divinely orchestrated, that there are things that come towards you by grace, by virtue of grace. There are things that are to come to you not because you're working a lot, not because you're the best student, but because you have found favor in the sight of God. You understand? That these things align with you. You understand? Now, I'm not speaking about specifically wealth and specifically riches and specifically, you understand, just material possessions. You understand? But I'm also speaking about the right associations. You understand? I'm also speaking about the things that cannot be exchanged by material possessions. You understand? So there are things to which, by virtue of design, are to come your way. You understand? Through grace, financially, physically, as in materially. You understand? But there are things that is drawing you towards. You understand? To bring about the peace, the comfort, and the joy that is extraordinary, in order for you to have a fulfilling kind of life. Let me tell you something. I remember some time back I was reading a scripture that says that there is a gap in a man that only God can fill. Trust me, child of God who is listening to me. You see that iPhone that you want, the latest iPhone that you want, you see that house that you want, you see that car that you want. Someone can wake up tomorrow and gives you that thing. But guess what? After receiving it, you'll be excited. You understand? You will be with it 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 1 month. After that period of time, do you know what will happen? Is that the joy and the satisfaction it used to give you will not be there anymore. And what will happen is what we call the switch in desire. You understand? The desire that you had will be extended to the latest model that is yet to come. And that is the pattern of existence. That we can continuously chase after things, and we have them, we can get them. You understand? We get money, you understand? We stay in houses, we have food, you understand? You eat. You know, when you have, okay, let me give just a simple example. There are moments when you feel like you want to eat chicken. You walk right where they sell it and you eat. You understand? And you feel good and you're like, oh wow, I've had the best meal. This is what I like. You understand? Guess what? Even before a week elapses, you want to eat another one. You understand? This is what I'm telling you, that there is a gap in a man that only God can fill, that only God can occupy. You understand? It is okay for you to have anything. You understand? But it is dangerous for that thing to become your God. It is dangerous for you to idolize that business. It is dangerous for you to idolize that thing, whatsoever it is, even if it is a relationship. You understand? It is dangerous for you to idolize that thing. You understand? That means, as those things come to you, receive them and focus on God. After you receiving that car, after you receiving that whatsoever thing that you want, because trust me, every individual on the face of the earth, rich and poor, they still have goals. They still have something that they are pursuing. Why? Because after attaining to a certain level of success, you understand? Or material success, I could say clearly, man still pursues something. You understand? That means everyone has a goal, rich and poor. You understand? But as all of us achieve the goals and attain to particular experiences in life, there is something that we should not ignore. Something far above anything that we will ever possess. And that is His presence, His intention for our existence, His purpose for our lives. I was writing a portion in my book, The Gifts and the Giver, and I was writing whereby I was explaining something very specific, and I said that as ministers, I believe this will be the conclusion. Understand? As ministers, we forget that we are ministering at the audience of one. You understand? Now let me explain that, because I don't want to confuse you. Understand? When I say that we minister at the audience of one, or at the witness of one, what I mean is this. I don't mean that there are no people in the congregation. No, people are there. Understand? But wherever, or I would say whenever our mind is on the congregation, understand, we miss out the most important thing. We tune into what I call performance. You understand? Rather than remaining intact with the strategic mind of God, by whom we are ministering to those around us. What I mean is this, is that the most important attention that we need or deserve is not the attention of the audience, is His attention. Because whenever you're focusing on the attention of the audience, let me tell you something, you're going to drift. You're going to drift. You're going to speak things that are out of divine orchestration for the sake of pleasing someone in the audience. And the words that you speak to those people will not carry power, because there is a code that is missing. You understand? A code that you've chosen to ignore for the sake of impressing. You understand? That's why in the book I was writing that we minister at the audience of one. That means the most important thing is not, am I doing what they want, or am I doing what they expect? No, it shouldn't be like that. It should be, am I doing what he expects, not what they. It is not all about them. It is all about him. That means the moment that you manifest, that you show up before them. You understand? Within that opportunity that he has granted you, the most important thing ever to do is not to think of what do they expect from me. Perhaps you are an apostle, perhaps you are a prophet, perhaps you are a worshiper, perhaps you are what? Understand? Perhaps you are a prophet. When you show up, there are very many people who expect prophecy. But when you begin to prophesy simply because someone expects prophecy from you, you are not performing from the audience of God. You are performing from the audience of man. There's a reason as to why men of old, the prophets of the Old Testament, were called men of God. You understand? There's a reason as to why ministers were called men of God. You understand? These fellows could come into a city and they could minister. You understand? They could speak words that could shake kingdoms. Not seeking to please anyone. You understand? Because their consciousness and focus was not on the congregation. Their mind and focus was on the audience of one. And that one is the sovereign Lord. Understand? When it comes to the audience of one, what I mean is this, is that you will get into that place, into that opportunity to minister to individuals. Understand? But if you have this in mind, that He is Lord, that means owner of your life, owner of that conference, owner of that fellowship, owner of that school, owner of that SU club, owner of anything. You understand? Scripture Union Club. You understand? Now, in whatsoever field that you stand to manifest, to speak under divine inspiration, you have to be having this in mind, that what is going to unlock someone's gift or someone's ability, divine ability, is not embedded in your performance. You understand? It is embedded in the divine strategy by which you are inspired to present yourself at a particular moment. That's why to certain ministers, you find you get onto the pulpit and 20 minutes you're being forbid from preaching, from doing anything, but only to worship and pray. Why? There is a code embedded in that. You understand? That is unlocking a divine manifestation amongst His people at a particular moment. So it has nothing to do with how you plan the fellowship to be. It has nothing to do about how you plan to present yourself before men. All that is useless. The most important thing is to stay in tune with Him. To allow Him use the gift that He has given you as a tool in the master strategist's hands.